there will be no military hardware on show in Russia's Victory Day parade next month for the first time in almost 20 years, as Moscow claims it is under threat from Ukraine. In a phone call with US President Donald Trump yesterday, President Putin also said he would unilaterally declare a ceasefire in his war against Ukraine for the duration of Victory Day celebrations. We can cross over now to the European Parliament in Strasbourg and to our correspondent Vincenzo Genovese, who is there for us this week. And Vincenzo, on this issue of Russia, it also featured prominently in a debate on EU-Russia ties in the hemicycle last night.
Yes, Mared, indeed. Good morning. Good morning from Strasbourg. It was quite a heated debate yesterday evening, as the topic is highly controversial among MEPs and also fuels discussion across Europe. Currently, we know Russian teams are excluded from sports competitions and Russia remains banned from cultural events such as the Eurovision Song Contest, but not from, for example, Venice Biennale, the world's most renowned contemporary art exhibition. So the question is, should the EU talk to Russia through diplomacy or at least through sports and arts or not? Let's put it to Ville Niinistö, who is an MEP from the Greens HIFA group and chairs the European Parliament Russian delegation. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
Should we talk to Russia or not?
I think we have to be very clear that Russia uses all connections or conciliation from our side as a way to show that they would have international legitimacy for their war crimes in Ukraine and ongoing slaughter of Ukrainians. So Russia has committed thousands of war crimes, torture of prisoners, rape of Ukrainian women, and these are kind of like systematic. So we have to remember that as long as the war continues and Putin does not take responsibility for the war crimes and Russia does not stop invading Ukraine, there is nothing we can talk about with Russia, and we should not give them any legitimacy through sports or culture.
The war continues, as you said, but Vladimir Putin announced a ceasefire for the Victory Day. Do you believe him? Is a serious offer?
No, it's not. I mean, Putin also feels, Russia feels weaker now than they did a year ago. Ukraine has done a lot of drone attacks inside of Russia, so they start to feel threatened by those attacks. So this is also for them to try to create a day where they can show their strength, but then they want Ukrainians not to intervene.
But some Europeans will go there, like Slovak Prime Minister Fico. Is it the right choice?
I think it's a totally wrong choice. We don't want to show any support for the current Russian regime in their kind of like also reimagining the past. Russia uses the Victory Day as a way of strengthening a very nationalistic future for Russia where human rights are not supported.
And meantime, there is also a standoff between Ukraine and Israel for what Kyiv says is stolen grains from occupied territories. What the EU can do on that?
I think you have to be very clear that all the support that we have for Ukraine and all the conditions and sanctions on Russia and action against Russians using Ukrainian resources elsewhere have to apply to all countries. So we have to be strict on Israel as well, and Israel has to pay if they do wrong on here.
Very clear. Thank you very much, Ville Niinistö. It's last day of plenary session in Strasbourg, and we will follow it as usual on Euronews. Mared.
Vincenzo there in Strasbourg, thank you so much for that.